Oh,
Yeah.
brush off the cobwebs. Brush
Ah.
off. Where am I? Where are we?
Oh, we're live. We're live.
Ah, hey,
Oh,
we made it to another one, man.
it's been a month, right?
Dude, don't remind me, man. This feels
Sorry. All
bad.
right.
Yeah.
All right, you're up. Welcome.
Let's do it, guys. All right. For those who are with us, thank you for joining us. This is the Nissan Nerd Podcast. On this episode, we've got pictures to share with you of the first ever NISMO Edition EV. That's going to be a big one. Very important. Also, we learned that the Nissan Formula E team welcomes back a former driver for the 2024 season. And later, Miles and I, we each have found a product that we want to share with you in a segment called Shut Up and Take My Money. Coming up, guys, stick with us.
Oh, episode 349.
Can,
Captain's log.
Captain's log, star date. Is that what
Oh,
it is?
Jesus Christ.
Can,
Yeah.
can I just say that every once in a while,
Mm.
after we drop these videos and they go live to YouTube, every once in a while I'll try to go back and do a quality assessment, just kind of see how we did. And I noticed that every time I do an intro, you do these crazy expressions with your hands and your face. Like like I'm just trying to read through like what we've
hmm
prepared, and then all of a sudden, I finally I don't see it until after the
Yeah,
show's been
no, you don't
dropped.
know half the stuff in my facial expressions when you say something. And I'm like,
It makes me laugh when I see it finally, though.
at
I'm
least it
like,
made one person laugh. So that's all that matters, right?
yeah,
So,
that's all it matters. This is episode number 72, by the way, man. I know
72s.
we're getting there, man. We're getting
It's
there. I
magic.
know.
What is our end
Uh,
game here? What are we trying to do with our lives here?
I don't know. I think, I think it's well. First of all, and I think
I think we are
at
just
least,
doing this for our friends and family that's out there, like the amass of like just Z nerds that are in a parking lot right now watching this.
yeah,
Namely,
yeah. The
these
Branson Z Fest
these
guys.
dorks that are in the middle
Yes,
of Branson having the best times of their lives, and we're here filming this.
yeah. I
So
I will. I know we wanted to be there, man. I know you're asking like, why we do it, and I know for me, it's like it just gives me an excuse to hang out with my best friend. Cue the
that.
sappy music.
Oh,
Oh.
spend all your time
Well,
wishing for the
well, no.
success.
Well, I always saw it as a parking lot banter, just
That's
online,
all we're
man.
doing. That's all
That's
this
all we're
is a
doing.
glorified parking lot banter with technology involved now. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah,
moving along. So let's do a quick catch up here, because we've got a little bit of business to take care of here tonight. Um, let's talk updates. What is Mike D been up to? Because we pushed out doing another podcast here, filming another podcast by about 2 weeks. So this is
yeah.
one of the longest stretches we did. And our apologies to everyone.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we did have a string of bad luck here, and I'll let Mike share the excuse.
Yeah. Well, the bad luck excuse, Jesus. The bad luck is mostly on my part, man. So it's funny. The last episode we were talking about my 350Z and the AC issue I was having.
Mm,
Well, I was able to fix that up rather quickly. It wasn't what I thought it was, which was good news. It was essentially, I want to say, it damn near cured itself, man. I just kind of did some banging around underneath, and it worked great.
sure.
Not a problem. However, it was the following couple weeks that have just been a big mess, man. First off, I have a backup vehicle. Everybody should have a backup vehicle. It seems like transmission went out. Was not fun. Had a tow from out of town, bring it home, and back in my mind, I'm like, it's okay because I still have my 350Z. It still runs. It's great. Yeah, it's got high miles, but it's still great. I jinxed myself because 7 days later, I suspect that I blew a head gasket on
Yeah.
on the engine.
Ow!
So yes, we saw some
May I
water.
may I just say
Yeah,
something?
yeah. Uh
You you rev that thing like it owes you money. And I'm just saying,
huh.
it's like when you're outside my house and you're leaving from whatever we went to or whatever we were working on, burnout, rev up, and like you're doing a street takeover, but it's just my street. And I'm like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, in the back of my mind, I was like, I hope he's keeping up his oil changes
I
and his servicing.
oh
I
the
know
the
you
ma-
do. I know
the
you're like
maintenance was
a
there by
mechanic
and large.
by heart.
Yes, yes. I had weekly changes, but you are right. I
You
you know
beat
you
on
gotta
it.
think
You
about
romp on it.
I've definitely put it through some torture, you might say. So I mean, I'm not saying this was unexpected. I guess it was unexpected at some point, but I knew something was coming. I mean, it now grant I thought it was going to be somewhat of a I don't know. I've had some time to kind of think over what's happened to the car. I'm still doing some diagnostic work this upcoming week,
Okay.
but I I think I can probably have it fixed. Might take a couple weekends, but relatively affordably. It just means fresh head gaskets. Um,
Let's
gonna
pull it.
take the heads off,
Let's
inspect it.
pull
Oh
it.
yeah, the
Let's
engine's
strip
being
it.
pulled. Yep.
We'll call Ion, and he can get all the goop out of it because he loves de-gooping engines.
The goop.
So, does goop Ion de goop?
Ion the Gupta. The
Ion de Gupta. That's perfect. We'll
that's
call
the
him and the rest of the clan, and we'll see if we can de-goop your engine, and we'll kind of go from there and put some new head gaskets on it, freshen it up, and then we'll go from there. So,
yeah, yeah.
we'll do a.
So
Mhm.
overall though, man, the last 2 to 3 these
You've been
overall I'm
knee
on
deep in servicing and mechanics and everything else and getting back up on your feet
borrowing
automotively.
cars,
So
renting cars, trying to get to work and back still. Yeah, it's been a juggling game, much less trying to get a podcast together. Something had to make the cut, and unfortunately, but we're back.
unfortunately, it was me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
no,
cool. And
yeah.
everybody else that's listening, because you don't care.
Oh,
I want everybody out there
twist
to know that I still care.
twist
So
that knife a
fifty
little
percent of
bit
the
more. As you can.
50% of the show still cares about you guys out there listening. So
Oh,
no,
damn
but
it.
we'll try to stay consistent as possible. But thank you again for everybody listening,
Yeah,
holding up through all our delays
yeah,
and whatnot. We'll do our best to try to meet expectations in the
yeah.
future.
Now
Um,
you had some time. I know I was trying to catch up with you a little bit on
hmm.
occasion. You went to a pretty awesome concert lately, but you also found something else you were talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a side thing. So I live next to an Air Force base that surprisingly I was born
Hmm,
at. Two Air Force bases,
wow.
military Air Force base. Anyway, Boeing just happens to have a presence at this Air Force base,
Mhm.
and they opened up a massive like center. They call it the Boeing Center, and they just had a concert there. And a friend of mine hooked me up with a set of tickets to go see a band, Danzig, old school,
Danzig.
all thugged out. Anyway,
Did you wear black?
I think you have to.
You
I think
have
when you
to,
come
right?
in, you fine dine at somewhere and they put a coat, and they're like, sir," they just make you wear the
Uh,
black T-shirt,
I'm sorry, sir. You're not
black
properly
Hanes.
dressed.
Yeah, you're just black Hanes, and they just kind of they do you up real quick. But no, went anyway. The show was good, but the point is, next to it is a massive tech center, and inside of there, surprisingly, are these massive driving simulators that are there. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it's probably like anything else. There's a certain cost to it. But Boeing actually gets it's all donated to the city.
Mm,
Basically, anybody can go in there and drive these basically full race rig simulators for like next to damn nothing. It was like $2 an hour or something like that because Boeing
wow.
basically bought it all, and they just wanted to give back to the community. And I'm like, thank you very much. And I was
Hell
thinking, I was
yeah.
like, I got to take some of the local guys or anybody coming into town. That's where we're going for a couple hours to drive in these rigs. So we'll see. I mean, these
I'm
are
down.
fancy like SimCraft setup rigs, and I'm just like, all right, I'm a baller.
Ooh.
I was like, all right. So anyway, but that's what I did this last week, and I just went sim racing. So if I seem like I haven't slept a lot lately, that's what it's.
Well, it's cool though too, man. Because I mean, I know, I know we've touched on it a few times. First of all, we know that sim racing in general is pretty damn
Mhm.
popular, and especially
There's a
after the
whole
Gran
movie about
Turismo
it now.
movie now. Yes, it's definitely enabling. I hope it enables a lot of people.
Enables
Uh,
slash addicts.
yeah,
So
hooks. It's all about gotta get them hooked.
got to get
Yeah.
them hooked at an early age. And first with Mario Kart, and then they got you. They got their teeth in you, the fangs.
Cart and then cruising USA or something. Well,
Oh,
granted.
cruising US Sega run. It all starts with that or that button. What was that off-road game with the Pirelli or whatever it is with the nitrous, and you're
Oh,
just
the
circling a
off-road
track?
challenge
Yeah,
with the
off-road
wheels that
challenge.
you
Yeah.
spin.
All right,
I
we'll
was.
leave it at that. All right.
Oh
So,
man. Okay. Okay.
but yeah, that's what I've been doing as of late to catch up. So, all right, enough about us because we can nerd out just about anything. So let's go ahead and do some acknowledgement for anybody that's out there listening. To anybody from Branson Z Fest, if you want to chime in here tonight, let us know what you're doing.
Yes.
Send us any inappropriate pictures. We'll see if we can throw them up in the background, and we'll kind of go from there. But just wanted to give a shout out to anybody listening to us. Edgar, first one to chime in here. Quite an accomplishment blowing the HG head
Head gasket.
gasket, that is, in
Hmm.
the history of NC. We had a
Mission
five blown
challenge.
VQs on track, and three belong to one driver. What?
Well, no, well, because the VQs are. This is me assuming based on
They're
what I know
oil
about the
burners by
VQ.
nature,
They're oil
right?
burning. So
Okay.
when you blow an engine, you're blowing it because of oil starvation. I imagine. Um, I was always on top of
All
at
the
least
side,
my
all the
engine
like oil starvation through the
slosh.
through high G corners, and then it's not picking up oil, and then bam.
Well, that is just blow by. I mean, if you're not continuously monitoring its oil level, and yes, and track usage is also a big one for sure. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm still going to find out, but it could be head gas. I want to say it's cooling related, the part of the gasket that I
We'll tear
blew,
it
but
apart.
I'll
We'll
learn
figure
more
it out.
soon. Yeah, so to be continued on that one.
All right. Thanks for Edgar for first being the
First
first
up,
man to stand up. Anybody else want to chime in with us tonight? Just let us know.
we're
We'll
here.
catch you now. In the meantime, we have a few compis to go through. Actually, believe it or not.
Yes.
So I'll let you take the reins on that, Mike.
All right, guys. For those who are joining us, if you've got something in your hand, let's go ahead and get it out here, guys. Of course, this is our traditional gone by for this episode. The three people that we definitely want to call out for this episode is going to be. Let's check it out here. First one up. Let's go with Mr. K, Yutaka Katayama, otherwise known as the father of the Z car. September 15th, this last Friday, it would have been his birthday. Essentially, he passed at 105. He would have been 114. So it's been about 9 years since, just underneath, just over that, since we've had Mr. K with us. So we do want to give a compie to him. The next one up, we have here. Oh, first of all, there you go. That's him as well. I had to get the obligatory cowboy hat photo. Mr. K
That's
in a
my
cowboy hat.
favorite photo of him. Of everything he has, that's my favorite photo. Because there's an amazing story that goes with all that, but we don't have that kind of time. I can nerd out about it. If you catch me in the streets, I'll explain why this picture is so good beyond the obvious. So,
Yeah. Next one up, we do want to give a shout out and a kanpai to Josh Schaefer, who is a Nissan team member at the Smyrna plants in Tennessee. Josh donated his kidney to his best friend and fellow Nissan team member, Josh Bredesen. This came off of the Smyrna plant Facebook page, talking about stories of the team members inside. This was actually a really good one. Best friend and fellow Nissan team member. Want to give him a huge kanpai for making that. Man, giving that
that
sacrifice. That's a
sacrifice.
kidney.
Yeah, that
Kidney, for
is.
God's
That's a
sakes. Yeah.
kidney. This is what it is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I found that on my on the Smyrna Facebook group, and it was a great update. And I was like, man, that's a really good story. So again, we want to make sure that we give the proper shout out to those folks and a compi as well. So everybody will do a little compi, and then of course a salute to everyone. Salute to those in the Nissan family whom we wish good health, and for those we may have lost, may we be reminded of them often.
All right, guys. Clink, join us again. And for you guys in Branson, we see you online.
You have to take 2 drinks.
Hmm. That party's ramping up, and we'll get into that after a bit here. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, we've got to kick off news, Nissan
Yeah.
news, Miles.
So, Nissan News is where we each scour the internet and share an article that we like regarding Nissan, Datsun, and Infinity. Articles are typically sourced from official Nissan newsrooms and from media outlets at large. So, we're going to go ahead and go into the first one here.
Hmm.
Now, for those that have been keeping up with everything with Nissan truck news, there has been some developments as far as new options, and of course, we talked recently about everything that's happening with the new Frontier. But recently, some news came through about again more Frontier news. Surprisingly, so Nissan is looking to do a throwback by making a what they're basically calling an SL trim or a throwback to a hard body retro styling, if you will. And behind me, you can kind of see that. And this is actually the new, what is going to be probably the new Nissan hard body variation. Now, as you can see, there's a few things that are in the works to make that happen. So, for those that remember the hard body and some of the details to it, you can start to see some of the accent marks from that, um, namely being leather trim. So a
Hmm.
lot of the vehicle is going to be outfitted with leather, which wasn't necessarily something you saw a lot in the Frontier line. But again, with this hard body design, they're thinking that they're going to be doing the leather trim. A 10 speaker sound system. I don't remember that too much in the original hard body layout. I mean, I remember it being a very stripped down, simplistic vehicle when I drove them. When I had one, well, when I operated one for a short time, and then in friends' vehicles. But
Hmm.
this one's going to be, I assume they're stepping it up a little bit, and it's going to get a higher end, most likely Bose
Yeah.
10 speaker sound system, but I'm speculating. There's going to be some addition of LED lighting to the vehicle too, as well. The wheels, which you can kind of see here, I'll get out of that way. Oh, never mind. You're screwed. All right. You can see that it's going to be retro wheels, is
Okay.
what they're thinking. And then, of course, some body decals. You can kind of see some of the body decals on the hood, but I'm sure we're going to see something along the side potentially as well. And then the lastly is the most obvious is the headache rack in the back. So they're going
Yes.
to be trying to bring that option back, which is something cool. I noticed first off. So we'll see if that's going to be a purchasable option or if you just have to kind of get it only with the new hard body design that's going to be coming up here for 2024. So we'll see.
Yeah. So you know what? First thing is that, of course, for those who don't know, hard body is essentially like '90s, early
Yeah,
'90s
let's
era.
call it the predecessor for the Frontier because the Frontier,
Yes.
when the hardbody died, it was a quick moment, and then we've got the original
Yep.
Frontier design, which
Like
was a little more
'97, I think was the
exactly.
first year.
Which if you don't know that, go back and look at that model. I think it's you can look at that body type, but great car, a great truck overall. But the hardbody just kind of captured you because it really was it was basically one of the premier vehicles for that design aspect. And when I say that, the hard body kind of mirrored the Pathfinder. Remember how it had the same like trunk,
Hmm.
the hood
The
lines and everything.
headlights and the front
Yeah,
grille.
the-
Yeah.
and then the Pathfinder too as well. I mean, it basically was all that. It's like sorry yeah. So I'm just kind of thinking in my head
Pathfinder. And
everything that was happening from that time period and everything that it kind of looked like at that time. And so yeah, I guess this is going to be a
okay.
throwback to that too as well. So
Two more questions. One is that when I
sure.
think of hard body, I mean, I guess I don't remember the hard body being a luxury model of sort. It was always
No,
obviously
it was
your
an
mini
eco
truck,
box. Yeah,
eco.
well, it was an eco box, and and to me, and I've said this before on the show many times, I felt that Nissan should make a hard body, but true to the hard body, make a smaller version of it, offer it and say like 4 cylinders, but strip the weight out of it, or
Yeah.
and really make it smaller than what we're seeing in the Frontier. Go back to a small truck design because I mean, even the damn Ford Ranger, which was the
Or the
pinnacle
Maverick even.
of
Yeah.
the Maverick. I mean, they're
Yeah.
huge. They rival trucks. These would be considered full size at the time of the hard body.
Yeah.
So and yeah, everything gets bigger and people want more spacious things.
America.
But I really think if Nissan made a true hard body that was smaller in design, went back to that, and cost effectiveness kind of went down, I think they would probably have a golden ticket on their hands. But
Yeah,
it's one of those things. Are they going to be competing against, people buying these Frontiers? So why be self-competitive? But
yeah,
just kind of a thought process. But nobody else is doing that right now. Nobody else is going smaller on the trucks
true.
and trying to capture that market and just kind of undercutting it.
Well, and that's the thing too, because I mean, and I think there is. I mean, of course, I love the Frontier. Let me start off by saying that,
Hmm,
but right, the
I own
smaller
one.
market,
Yeah.
yeah, the smaller market pickup. I think of the new Ford Maverick, which is that mini truck.
Mhm.
You got like a 3.5 or 4 foot bed,
Yep.
very very small. It's kind of meant for in town commuting. It's that multi utility
If
to
you
where
go
you
back
have a
to that and
bed.
make a long bed, and then I think also you just make it a really eco box like Frontier, excuse me, Pathfinder. If you just
Yeah,
make it real eco friendly, I think you'd probably take the fleet market. But then I mean, are you competing against the Nissan
fleet.
NVs and the
Yeah.
vans? And so I can see a perspective why they wouldn't do it, but I'm just saying it would be a nice experiment. So
Last thing I'm going to say is that being a hard body and being just a throwback or an homage to 90s Nissan pickups, there's got to be a Nissan Edition cup holder, the one that hangs on the door with the window. Like, just got to keep it true, just for
yeah.
a second,
Well, I
But
mean, if you had the standard model and this is just if you own that vehicle for a short time, it really was just this really long shifter. I mean, it was
yes,
massive. It was
it
huge shifter.
was.
I mean, it was like it had to be damn near 2 feet. And then at the bottom was where your cup holders kind of sat around that, if I remember that correctly. I mean, it was it. It was simplistic. And man, I love that. And then now it's like trying to find a hard body is has gotten up there. Like they're starting to come into their own as far as their value and things like that. So
I
hell,
think
even the
so.
Pathfinder,
There,
yeah.
there's a
So
cult. I mean, not cult, but I mean, there's such a strong following
the,
for those who
though
have
they'll
hard
be, I
bodies.
mean, if you think about it, the hard body went and survived one round of mini truck society
Hmm.
destruction for all
Yeah,
those
yeah,
vehicles. And just like the drift kids with the 350Zs, they just went and they just destroyed everything. So the last surviving, hard bodies are now going through a mini trucking resurgence, which is happening right now. A mini
yeah.
trucking is starting to like take off again, but they're only picking certain models to do it. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy. So I think the hard bodies are even going to more is going to even escalate more in value, but we'll see how it goes.
You
So
know what else that survived?
hmm.
Cash for Clunkers. You remember Cash for Clunkers?
Cash for Clunkers killed
So
everything
many,
good, everything good in this
so
world
many.
as
So
far as
the
like
rad era just went
the
down the drain. It
yeah,
was
they
just,
killed
yeah.
the rat the a lot of Nissans. I'm gonna just say that. All your Sentras went in there, your old Pathfinders, your old hard bodies, your old Z's.
Yeah, man,
Your,
it's so sad. I remember that. And oh man, that's a whole. It was a government program too. Like they were trying to get
we've
out.
done it twice. We've done it. I
Yeah,
think we did it. The first one was hardcore with Obama, and the second one came around. I can't remember whose era it was. I mean, it may have been the beginning of Trump, and he just
mhm,
like that was it. And then so it wasn't that
yeah.
popular the second time around, but
I don't
yeah,
think.
it's like because everybody needs these cheap cars that are that's what's the market's after right now. This is why all those cheapy cars, all these like crappy cars are like overvalued right now because the market hasn't caught up after COVID. But I
Yeah.
digress. So anyway, but that's everything that I have for Nissan Frontier news for right now. Now, as far as new models, you also have some
Mm.
new model news as well, right?
I do. I do. So as I was doing some research trying to find the right article for you guys, one article stuck out the most through multiple sites, and I'll go ahead and throw the one up that I have from the carscoops.com. Um, so for those who don't know, I mean, it's been spoken about before. Nissan and specifically Nismo are getting into the EV performance game. It's been mentioned, people know about it. However, this is the first time that it's actually been seen physically. So, the headline here: the sporty 2024 Nissan ARIYA Nismo is caught testing at the Nürburgring in Germany. And this is a big thing. So, we're actually seeing development and testing of Nissan and, well, Nismo's first ever um, edition of a performance EV. And a little bit about it, though. you do see improved aerodynamics, a rear wing, two rear wings to be exact. You've got one that exaggerates the roof line here along the top, and then you've got a second one that's just above the tail lights. I'm sure there's four reasons. I'm sure there is, especially being the Nismo edition potentially. And then you've got rear bumper, side skirts, front bumper changes. You see those side skirts there, actually?
I see him.
The rear bumper's been changed. The front is a little bit more aggressive. Now, and that's the thing about a front bumper is just, especially on an EV, is that you're not doing it for radiator cooling per se or engine cooling, but there is battery cooling that is also important. So, although it is different, there is a lot of different uh, reasons to have the front end look the way it looks. Again, this is Nissan and Nismo's first time engineering a performance EV. The Nissan did have the Nismo Leaf. However, that was not a production car. That was used in racing application only. So this, I believe, in my opinion, is a critical moment for Nismo, in this new world of EV to really blaze that path and say, this is who we are. This is what the Nismo difference is with said model that they're turning into a Nismo edition. I think they've got to get it right. They've got to be competitive. If I know Nismo, in my opinion, what I think Nismo means to me, like you see here in these pictures, improved aerodynamics for sure. You're probably going to see a more rigid body and very much more a much more sport tuned suspension. So, like you said, you're seeing it on the Nürburgring, one of the most notorious tracks in the world. Again, if anybody's played it in a sim, I'm sure maybe you played it at the tech center there, man. uh,
Mhm.
it's a very aggressive, a great test bed to try out suspension tuning in this car. Now you are also going to see a small to moderate boost in power. I mean, if actually in our last episode we spoke about the Nismo Edition Z, and we saw power increase, horsepower and torque, but I think what makes it, but it wasn't the leading um, difference for a Nismo. I think the big difference with a Nismo edition vehicle is aero rigidity and suspension tuning. You are going to get power, but that is, I think the other ones are probably more of a priority. I think. What is power without control? That's what I've always said. That's where suspension comes in.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I do want to say about the ARIYA, previously before the Nismo, is one thing you have to understand is there's thermal management systems for the batteries now. So that's a little different, and it's kind of not a lot of people talk about that, but basically it's liquid cooling for the batteries, which is something that is great battery technology that has kind of been overlooked by a lot of other EV companies.
Hmm.
This is just spells better performance. I mean, in hot and cold weather. I mean, you're getting, I potentially think, reliable EV performance, if you will, plus more battery protection when using like these fast chargers, which
Hmm.
are really problematic. And these, I find that we're seeing a lot. Me being in the world that I am in insurance, and we see what's the leading cause of some of these fires that's happening with some of these EVs. I'm leaving names out, but
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 it's fast chargers that's causing the problems, or it's a failure of a cooling system for these batteries that are just they're getting really hot, or it's the materials that the batteries are made of. Nissan's taken a really long time to they've taken a good while to come to market, but I think they had a massive learning curve, and they put a lot of development into everything that they're putting out. So the ARIYA coming out, it was already potentially a fine-tuned machine, and for them to put a Nismo out immediately when the ARIYA is just getting its initial launch out there, that to me speaks confidence.
that
So
yeah.
we'll hopefully see that. Hopefully, we'll see that confidence is well deserved. You know what I mean?
That's true. I think you mentioned it once before at some point that we were hanging out that you know of course, the ARIYA is a a vehicle that's blazing this path. It's a new model, but you don't really see them out very often. I know, of course, this kind of is a post uh, pandemic supply chain. Maybe one of the issues.
It was. I
The
mean,
numbers are
there.
relatively low, but yeah, to see a
Yeah.
NISMO so quickly.
I think honestly, the other thing too is Nissan had to kind of balance between producing a number of Z's out there that they really wanted to manage the quality and the production on, and at the same time, immediately just change out the line and pump out Arias. So it's going to be this like back and forth balancing act for a hot minute until
Yeah.
the vehicles make it to market, and then eventually it'll all balance out. But like those lucky SOBs that got their new Z's, good job, fellas. I know there's a lot of them out here today, and great. But same thing. I wish there was this much excitement, and then there was this much dedication. People wanting the new Araya, publicly. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I think when they finally start hitting market and people get really excited about them, I
Mhm.
think we'll start seeing love for the vehicle start coming around. I mean, just like the only thing that I know of right now that's really popular and doing well is the pole to pole. I mean, that's really it. And those guys are doing great. They're
Yes.
traveling across the world. I think I just checked; they were in like Cali, Colombia, as of
Yes.
today, and they were just doing their last service at a Nissan dealership in Cali, and they're trying to make their trail on their continuation back to the South Pole. So
South Pole. That is true because I mean, as far as that expedition, pole to pole, that at least on my radar, that's probably one of the only marketing uh,
Rebel.
that's happening. Well, the Rebel Rally, that's another one, but
Mhm.
they're both having to deal with, you might say, you might call it a little bit of endurance.
Yeah.
Trying to debunk or show that it is possible to drive an EV across the world, across the country, what it said country, being able to keep batteries charged, terrain, right? With
Mhm.
Rebel Rally, you're trying to show that these vehicles are
I
capable.
they really beating up the cars, and I feel like 2024 and into 2025, I feel like once the cars actually get out there, there's going to be people beating the hell out of these things in some kind of competitive manner, and I hope that's the case. I really want to kind of see that. I want to see these to be like that underdog, and then all of a sudden people are like, dude, these are baller. Like these guys, these are killing it. So we'll see if that's the case when
Yeah.
everything's said and done. So
Now I
I
did
hope
some
it is.
benchmarking. Before we move on though, I did do some benchmarking. I'm gonna list out what the current performance models are because in this article they're just spy shots. They're not giving us any numbers. That we're still too far away from that.
Sure.
But we do know the R&D is in progress. Current, if you were to go to the dealership right now and get the top of the line Aria, this is what you're going to get though. You're going to get a dual motor configuration, 389 horses and 442 pound-feet of torque. You've got a 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, and the vehicle weighs just over 4,300 pounds. Um, and the reason why I say that is because I start to speculate. Well, what will we see on a Nismo edition? And then the second thing I think of is who are its competitors? Who are you benchmarking it against? And we all know that EVs have this ability, awesome ability for that instant torque. You know, I'll give you an example. We always think about the Tesla and that ludicrous mode,
Mhm.
where just yeah, it may not be used all the time. You're going to kill your battery very quickly if you do, but you
Mm.
do get that hit of ludicrous speed. I mean, have you ever tried ludicrous speed in a Tesla?
Yeah, I've done it with the one G, the big G pull. I've sat in the
Yeah.
car while it's happened. It was fun.
Yeah.
So
So and that's the thing. I'm doing some research here. So you got some competitors. The Aria's competitors might be you might consider it the Mustang Mach E, the Tesla Model
yeah,
Y,
yeah,
the brand new Hyundai Iconic 5, the
I
N
know.
edition.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kia's got an EV6 GT version, and in each of these models of cars range between 450 horses up to 641
Hmm.
horses. The iconic Hyundai Iconic has supposedly here 641
Yeah,
horses.
I know.
So, what kind of power do you think people expect out of a Nismo Aria? I mean, is it going to be somewhere in this range?
Well,
I
if
mean,
I
again,
remember right, I mean the
currently
0 to 60 on the Araya was something like 5 seconds. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I'll check.
4.8 currently. Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So, eh, I
I,
mean, I don't think you're ever going to make it into that kind of vehicle because I don't think that's conceptually what it was there for.
mhm,
But if it I think the ruggedness and what like pole to pole is doing with the car, I
mhm,
think that is really what the car's about.
mm,
Let's see if the survivability aspect endures. But I mean, what's crazy is like, and again, I'll mention pole to pole for the last time, but I've been really kind of following them. But the point is, I don't know if they're keeping it quiet or talking about anything, or maybe nothing has happened, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of actual vehicle concerns or failures. It seems like they've been relatively comfortable in that vehicle. No, and they've been going through some really bad stretches of parts of the country, some really bad roads, rough terrain.
yep.
And I mean, other than just normal servicing, they're just kind of pushing on. And I'm like, okay, I mean,
Yeah.
it speaks volumes for that if that's the case and nothing is and there's no serviceability issues that kind of keep rearing its head and they're just not saying anything.
I
But so yeah.
Yeah, I would be interested because you're right. The pole to pole was never intended to be a time attack. It's just
No,
meant
no,
to
no,
be a
never.
drive, just endurance.
Sir, yeah,
And
endurance. Yeah.
so yeah, when it comes to service or any type of work that it needs along the way, I'm curious. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's been mentioned. I would be curious that one of these days a book is made about the expedition because it's a hell of an adventure for one. And
Mhm.
as a Nissan enthusiast, if the couple that is driving that Aria
I would think a
did a
documentary
day
will
by
probably
day
do.
journal, yeah,
Yeah,
documentary,
yeah, journal documentary would be perfect. I mean,
I
they're
would watch
basically
that.
doing that now, so you just have to kind of keep up with it. But yeah, anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, getting back to it. So, any other news on the Nismo Aria?
Well, again, I think my opinion is that I think the power output, even if it is a ludicrous mode, just use it as you will, knowing that you're going to waste a battery. I think that option has to be there just to kind of have some numbers on in a brochure. I think, and to be competitive with these other guys. Meanwhile, you can still go back to having, let's say they bump that 389 horse up to just over 400, maybe 420, kind of like the Nismo Z or something like that.
Mm,
I don't think the 0 to 60 is going to be faster than a Nismo Z. I don't
yeah.
think Nismo would allow that. Nissan would allow that.
Mm.
And the Nismo Z is doing 4.2, I think. So if they can get that 0 to 60 from 4.8 to just above 4.2, I think that's kind of where its sweet spot's going to be. Um, but I just think it needs to be competitive, especially with against Hyundai and Kia, which at least in my eyes has been a subpar brand. So I wouldn't want to let those brands eat my lunch like that.
I'm going to say they're up and coming because they're bringing a
Okay.
lot to the table these days. I hate to say it, but they are. You just have to know how far your competition is behind you, so you know how far you need to get ahead
Yeah.
of that or to stay
Yeah.
competitive. So,
The
but yeah, we'll see how things progress. We'll obviously keep you updated if there's any substantial news in regards to that. So.
last thing you mentioned style and people catching on to the aria and seeing them more and more often. I was thinking about it, man. Do you think there's going to be a big aria energy web Facebook page one of these
Oh,
days?
like a
Like Ultima
a
Energy?
big Ultima Energy. Yeah. No, I don't see that happening. These cars are too damn expensive, so I don't see that happening. On related kind of news, did you know the Maxima is dead? Officially, the last Maxima ran through the plants just
Hmm.
recently. So the Maxima line is now done, other than tooling for OEM part
Yeah.
supplies. But that's it. It is
I knew it was on the
finito.
chopping block. I want to say we mentioned it lightly in the show, and it's been a while,
Mhm.
but I did
But it
not
is
know it was official as
it's
of this
officially
month.
it's officially
Or
discontinued at this point.
yeah,
So
that's a long run, man. Maxima's been around since the mid '80s.
yeah,
The
it's been cutting off
DS.
drivers for 20 years. So I'm like, just I've been 4-lane changeovers.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
20 years of 4-lane changeovers in those Maximas. So I, of course, we're joking about the for whatever reason here in the U.S. There's just a lot of like, I don't know what there's an association to that car of just people just driving recklessly. Maybe it's just the power that that was given to them.
Hmm.
One of those with great power comes great responsibility, but a lack of responsibility for some of these drivers. So, but
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason, so it's kind of within our community, it's kind of become a running joke that like that's like it, you know, the dangerous vehicle when you see them of all the Nissans that's out there. So
True. True.
moving on. So let's go ahead and jump into motorsports. Motorsports update, of course, is a segment where we look into Nissan's current motorsports portfolio, its race entries, supported teams, and how they're doing at this time. Now, Mike, you've actually got the first update here. Now, Formula E is not going on right now, but there is a lot of news that's happening in the background, right?
You're right. There's a lot of off-season news, a lot of off-season action happening right now, and what we're wanting to communicate with you guys is primarily driver change-ups.
Hmm.
So, I mean, for the 2024 season, we're still keeping the Gen 3 car that was just debuted this year in 2023. But like very many of the racing seasons, driver changes are inevitable, and it did happen here to the Formula E, the Nissan Formula E team. So I'll share my article. This comes from the NISMO media room. What we're saying here, of course, we are saying goodbye to Norman Nato. Norman Nato, people never get it right. I'm in no exclusion. Goodbye to Norman Nato, and welcome back, Oliver Rowland, to the Nissan Formula E
All
team.
right, all right. Welcome back, Rowland. So,
Yeah.
all right.
N- Now, Oliver Rowland returns for the 2024 season. Um, Rowland has spent the last two seasons with the Mahindra Formula E team.
Hmm.
Mahindra just this season finished seventh. Sorry, 10th. Their team has finished 10th in the 2023 season. Just for reference, Nissan finished seventh. So I think in the eyes of Rowland, he's making a move. He's making a step up. Coming back to the Nissan team. He did have a quote here saying that he's really excited. It's a bit of a homecoming for him. Back to the place I started my Formula E journey and had a lot of success. The team has been on a great trajectory over the last year with performance improving. I agree with that one. We were just talking about that. The second half of the 2023 season saw a significant boost from Nissan points finishing. I said he's confident that Sasha Fenestras and him will make a strong pairing, show incredible speed. Looking forward to getting back to work. Awesome commentary from Roland, who is back in the seat with Nissan. Uh, Sasha Fenestras stays with the Formula E team for his second year. And if you remember, last year was two all new drivers, but we do have Sasha Fenestras back for year number two. Meanwhile, the driver we're replacing, Norman Nato, he's the one. For those who follow our motorsports update, he is the one who has had a pretty good year in terms of points finishing, especially that second half of the year. He's going off to the Andretti Formula E team. The Andretti Formula E team finished third as a team in 2023. So I still think we have a great pairing. I remember talking very highly of Oliver Rowland. I think he's going to be good for us. I
Yeah.
think Norman may have just gotten a better offer, maybe
He was
whatever
pretty
contract
consistent, and he
issues.
was had some surprising wins. When he was racing season before last, right?
Hmm.
Was that right?
Two
Yeah,
years ago. So yeah,
2 years
yeah.
ago. Yeah, and he was doing good. I mean, there was some days that he was surprising. He had struck a bad luck, like two races. Didn't he get like I think he had like a DQ one, and then something happened with like some kind of power strip. Remember that thing? And it was like
Yes,
or too
yes.
much. You used too much juice, so you got a juice slap on the hands.
I think there's been a
Yeah,
few. I know that by reputation, at least in the last couple of years, it has been the qualifying where both drivers, both cars, both of our cars show progress in the race. It's just bad qualifying
yeah.
for a variety of reasons. But I still I think Oliver
I
Rowland
think
is
it's a good
definitely a good
run up. Yeah,
choice.
I mean
Yeah.
it's a good choice. Like I said, he was definitely competitive. So maybe he's
Hmm.
matured a little bit. Maybe he's found himself. And sometimes drivers come alive after they've had an opportunity to bounce around a little bit, and then they're like, "Damn, why did we let that guy go?" Or you know,
Yeah,
people
and
are telling themselves that. So
it's true. I mean, like I said, to have this good pairing of drivers, I'm excited to see them for the twenty
mhm.
twenty four season. But also, again, I keep on talking about it. It's if you saw this, I mean, and just again, I watch it because for the show here and to be a part of it. The increase in performance the Nissan Formula E team after making some changes at the end of this year, they were significant. And so when we finally get that for a full year, much less whatever they're doing now in this off season and testing, all these improvements that are being made, the Formula E team, Nissan Formula E team, has been first place, has been a champion of the Formula E season. I can see them returning to that too. So
All right.
I'm excited, man. I really am excited about this. Um, Preseason testing will take place in Valencia, California on October 20. Is it- Sorry, in place in Valencia, October 23rd through the 27th. Uh, but before the opening round of the championship in Mexico City on January 13th. So until we get more information about anything having to do with the team, any actual motorsports results that we can share with you won't happen until January, though. But in the meantime, you can go to FIAFormulaE.com to get more information, not only about the series but also the teams. And of course, you can go to NISMO.com for updates on the Formula E team. But that's what I got, man.
All right. So on that, we're going to go ahead and step in here to Super GT news. It's been a minute since we've obviously had an opportunity to do the show, but there has been some updates as of late in regards to what is happening with Super GT. There's actually been two races since we've been on here as of last. So we'll do our best. We did rounds 5, which was at Suzuka, and then of course round 6, which is at Sugo. That was just this past weekend. So I'm just give you a quick summation of round 5, which was at Suzuka. Um, for the 500 class, not the best overall. Fifth place, Morelli Impulse Z. Ended up sitting on fifth place. And then from there, a lot of the Z's just kind of fell down at the end. So,
Oh,
not the best day for the 500 series. In the 300 series for Suzuka, we actually didn't have a GTR until we stepped into, let me see here. It was the Frontier GTR, and that wasn't until damn near the bottom. So
wow.
to me, it wasn't the best day. Like the Ponos Gainer did 13th place. The run up Rivial was in 14th place. The Gainer Tanax was 15th place. So just a bad day for
Interesting.
Nissan all around. But I will say that the Sugo race was a little bit of change of pace.
Okay.
So we actually kind of redeemed ourselves, as it were. Now I'm going to go ahead and give you some race results, and these are just the final race results for the 17th of this month. So the second place actually went to car number 23, the Motul Altex Z.
Mm,
Ended up sticking for second place. And then fourth place was car number 1, the Morelli Impulse Z, formerly the Calsonic Impulse team.
that nice blue.
Nice, beautiful blue. And fifth place, car number 24, the Realized Advan Z, ended up taking that. Ninth, finishing up, car number 3, the Nitera Motul Z. That's where they sat. Now, if you think about it, from everything that happened with that car 23 right before the mid-season break, that was the car that was destroyed.
Yes,
That
that's
car
right.
came back. Finally, I was hoping they were just going to come right into it, but they were struggling a little bit with that car. Now they're sitting in second place with that vehicle for this race, which to me
That's
is
good.
amazing. So
Yes, amazing.
let's talk a little bit about the 300 series for the GTRs. Again, kind of falling short just a hair. I would have liked to seen them sit up a little bit higher, as of who wouldn't. But we didn't really have anything until ninth place. So ninth place, car number 10, the Ponos Gainer GTR, ended up taking that. 10th place, car number 56, the Realized Nissan Mechanic Challenge GTR, which is one of my favorites for the 300 series. They sat again on 10th. 12th, that was car number 11. That was the Gainer Tenex GTR.
Mm.
So that's where we're sitting at right now. Again, this is an 8-round race. We have currently completed 6. So we only have 2 more races until the end of the season. So that will go ahead and be round 7. Will actually won't happen until the 14th of October, and that'll be at Altopolis. And then, of course, round 8 is Motegi, the final round. That'll be in November 4th, and then we are done. Now, I know I'm kind of giving you some downer news as a whole, but I did want to kind of give you some good news. So,
Okay.
as of late, Nissan's already obviously testing its 2024 Z model
Ooh.
out there. And it's funny because last year, the Z was the fastest vehicle on the track in preseason testing.
Yeah.
The same thing has happened for 2024. On the
All
preseason
right.
testing, the new Z's kicking ass, and it was one of the fastest car around for the preseason. So again, I mean, they're just letting it all go. So I'm hoping that the new design for the 2024 is going to give them that little edge to where they can come back and kill. Because at the beginning of the season, Nissan was killing it, and then they've stumbled just a hair. I think other teams found their speed, and now they're competing with all that. I mean, because everything is really, really tight on Super GT right now. So we'll see how they kind of come out and do for the rest of the season. Unfortunately, our Facebook page is still down because of whatever God
We're
knows
waiting
reason
for
with the
review.
Facebook,
Yeah.
whatever. And so
Mhm.
I have been unable to give you guys complete updates and links to the races. But again, you can check out everything. Nissan does amazing. Like about the week afterwards, they have their own like docu series, if you will, about the review of the race for Super GT. I highly recommend checking those and subscribing to those because those are great updates and it's great coverage, honestly. So if you get an opportunity, I would definitely subscribe to those because it's just that's how I get my updates. And then of course I follow everything else for the news. But yeah, that's everything that's happening with Super GT that's going on right now. So
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing 2024 happen, and then it sounds like the difference between those 2 rounds you mentioned, the Z and GT 500 class made a greater improvement from from one
yeah.
to the next. Was there any particular like issue behind the performance being lacking in that first round? That first round that we mentioned, was it rain or like just was it a small
No,
track
no,
or?
it was pretty much just an on and off day. I mean, I watched both rounds, and it was just consistently good. It was just like I said, I feel like a lot of teams found found their speed over the break, and
Okay.
Nissan just was staying consistent, and everybody else is kind of catching up and surpassed them.
Mm.
That there's a couple NSXs that are just always like on their tail, and I feel like they just jumped it. And though that's really kind of been the car that the Z's been fighting against for the most part. So
Okay. Okay. All right, man. No, I appreciate you letting me know. I was just curious. I know I need to do more Super GT. Man, there's just so many outlets
there's
to
a lot,
watch, you
and
know.
there's more
Yeah.
stuff that we watch that we don't even comment on, so that Nissan's involved in, but on the grassroots scale. But speaking
Yeah.
of grassroots, you have an update here for us for some of our really good friends with the Nissan Challenge, right?
I do. I do. So the Nissan Challenge boys out there in Southern California did have a race since the last time we spoke. Most
Nice.
recently, yeah, yeah. Round 5 just happened this past weekend, September 17th. The venue was the Buttonwillow Raceway Park. And through their site, which is corner3motorsports.com, you can see the results of that race. And I've got a few notes here that I'll go ahead and share with you. Now, there are a total of 4 classes competing with the Nissan Challenge Series this season. Each class, of course, has its own specifications. And if you want more details on that, definitely go to corner 3, the number 3, motorsports.com, and you can get more information on that, though. However, for this last race, round 5, the first class, first place goes to Charles Park. He dominates this class by 13 seconds over the next car. Charles Park in his R35 GTR, obviously just killing it this season, and specifically this last race as well.
That's good.
Moving into the second class of racing, Tom Weeb wins first in his Infinity G37. Now this was of all the classes, this was the closest. Again, I should say this was the closest margin this week. Second place belongs to Luke Lederman. I want to give him a shout out in his 350Z. He missed out on first place by only 0.4 of a second, so it was close. G37 and 350Z at Button Willow here. Third class goes to Adam Zia. I hope I'm saying that right. 350Z. He wins first place by a pretty healthy margin there.
Ja.
Zhao. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I knew I got that wrong. Fourth class belongs to Brian Abad. He has the B14 Sentra. He outran Alex Quiroz in his S14 by nearly about 5 seconds to win first. So again, a little bit of a healthy margin there between first and second place in each of these classes, though. There are let's see here, 3 rounds left. And the next one happens October 28th at the Streets of Willow. The next race is actually a part of the SR20 convention. And Miles, I know me and you know of the SR20 convention. It's been happening for a number of years.
Yeah.
We actually had them a part of an old Nismo Fiesta event back
Mhm.
in, I was 10 years back or so. Awesome
Uh,
guys running that
yeah, nice
show.
guys, and they're super passionate about it. So it's basically our version of LS Fest, right? So
It's
so kudos to
dedicated to an
those
engine,
guys for
yeah.
carrying that torch, So
Yeah. So the next round will happen. Obviously, all of this action with the Nissan Challenge Series is in the SoCal, Southern California area. Let's just call it Los Angeles, within a radius of Los Angeles. And if any of you guys are hearing this episode and haven't heard of this, or if curious to go out, we definitely want to encourage you guys to check out Nissan Challenge, to spectate, and if you really want to participate, you want to talk to a number of guys there who are organizing this event. Again, we've had them on the show before. We do have our buddy Edgar as one of those team members, and man, they'll tell you anything that you want to know about your car. They have a lot of head knowledge, a lot of experience with a variety of Nissan platforms for the track application. So you really are you're learning a lot. I think it's a really great opportunity for those who get a chance to or would care to. You've definitely got a great source in the Southern California area. Um, so that's Nissan Challenge. I know next up on our docket here is the Sentra Micro Cup. Miles, I think you covered this one.
yeah, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the race results that happened. Again with let's see here. Okay, so um, it's I apologize here. I lost my train of thought. So the Centra Cup is actually a grassroots racing series based out of Canada. It's basically 6 weekends worth of racing from May through September. And it actually just ended here. This is exclusive for the Nissan Sentra and microcars. Now, I think this is actually round, let's see here, 9 and 10. Let's see here. Now, August 25th through August 26th, that was there was 2 races. This event was actually held at the it's like Complex ICAR in Maribel, Quebec. Now, let's talk a little bit about placement. So Valerie Limoges, which is actually last year's
Champion.
race winner, yeah,
Yeah,
champion.
yeah.
She ended up taking first place for the for
All right.
round
Awesome.
7 here. Agzeller 14 and Daniel 14. I don't know if they're brothers or it's just a strange coincidence. Second and third place. Now, round 8 was Alexander 14 stepping up to first place. Daniel 14 into second place. Nicholas Barrett, who we've heard that name before, who's coincidentally the fastest lap for that day as well. Third place, Valerie falling down into fourth. Now, remember we had Sarman Charbonneau as just kind of dominating like the
Yeah.
last few rounds. So he was disqualified around 7 and 8.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with it. I don't get enough information on this to know what happened, if that was a DQ, but I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that he was dominating, the last couple races. Maybe there was something that wasn't quote unquote fair with the
Spec.
vehicle, or maybe the vehicle just didn't qualify. Maybe he had an issue with the vehicle and just a string of bad luck. I couldn't tell you. Wish I had more details on it, but that's
Interesting.
it. So September 2nd and 3rd was round nines and 10. Valerie Limoges takes first place for round nine. Nicholas Barrett, again, who we knew that name,
Yeah.
came into second. And Matthew Marone came into third. It was a up and comer that had previously placed below the third. But yeah, he ended up finally getting a place on the podium. Alexander 14, best lap for round nine. And let's see here, round 10, Alexander 14, first place, ended up sitting at the top of that win. Simon Vincent coming in second, and Nicholas Marine, who was third place, also took third place for round 9 and 10. So he was the winner. Daniel 14 ended up taking fastest lap, but unfortunately he had a DNF along with Valor Limoges,
Oh
who
no.
also had a DNF that day. And Nicholas Barrett also had a DNF. So a crazy race for round 10, unfortunately. Now, as far as the race results and the winners, surprisingly, it hasn't been released yet. We'll let you know who the final race. I would have thought there would have been a point update here, but for whatever reason, I couldn't find anything as far as who is the winners for the Central Cup officially.
Oh, you mean yeah? Because this was the final races of the season, right? Is that what you mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
the actual championship points and winners.
exactly. The championship points, I would have thought it was. I mean, I could tell you the drivers' results right now, where Alexander 14 was sitting with the most points at 436. Nicholas Barrett at 369. Again, these guys were really dominating and getting into the top of the placements consistently throughout. Valerie Limoges, I'm sitting at third with 354 points. Daniel 14 with 280. Simon Charbonneau at 279. So he actually got bumped down as far as points to fifth place, if he's even in consideration for that. So yeah,
Man, and I
out
know
of
that
out of 30 drivers,
out of
So
and that's what I was saying because for those who watch the show, we tend to share that's like 5 or 6 names pretty commonly,
mhm,
but you're right. Out of a grid of 30, it really I think it shows uh well, as a spectator, it's got to be who follows this thing. There's
mhm,
tons of entertainment in this because you get these people that essentially they're building up the stakes, especially the last race of the season when it comes down to points. I mean,
yeah,
for anybody who's competitive, this is definitely something to watch, man. I think this is awesome. There tends to be, I think it was Simon. Uh,
Charbonneau.
yeah, who was he? The one who always he tends to get best lap a number
Yeah,
of times, but he may not. He may be podium, but maybe third or maybe fourth or something like that. There's like there's a trend that you see as you follow this thing throughout the entire
Yeah,
year.
so I mean, just to talk a little bit about, so they have number of pole positions. So Alexander 14 actually had two number of pole positions. Valerie Limoges, again, two for a number of pole. Simon, six.
See, I caught it. Yeah, because exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's it's
And that's out, and six, I'll put it this way: number of pole positions, six out of seven races he competed in.
that's
So
it. Yeah.
I don't know if it raised an eyebrow with somebody, and maybe that's why or maybe the vehicle just couldn't finish, the series, and he just kind of fell down. But I really thought he was in it to win it. I thought he was going to be the guy. He was definitely one of my top three that
Yeah.
was going
I
to get
mean,
it. So,
and what I've learned,
but Alexander 14,
especially
man, he's been consistent. He has been as well, and then he came at the end and just kind of took it. So,
yeah, and that's what I've learned. For the amount of time that we've spent in this last year, even where we talk about these positions not only with racing but with qualifying. And then I'm even thinking back to the GT4 interview that I did earlier this season. You know, oftentimes you'll find drivers. I mean, they're they're either really good at racing more so than qualifying, or maybe they're better at qualifying and not so much racing. It's a mixed bag,
I
but
don't
it
know.
sounds like from those numbers you mentioned that hey, someone there is awesome at qualifying. He can, yeah, racing. Okay, well he's getting there,
And it
but
might have been a
yeah,
string battle. Again, I am all speculating because I didn't get an opportunity to watch any of those last races,
yeah,
and there was really no official updates online as far as what was happening with it. At least what I could find that was English based, right?
hmm,
So that I could cover. So again, I hope for more coverage from them as always, and then I hope that we can get maybe a little more English translation with some of this stuff. So we'll kind of go from there. But again, that was
cool,
a Sentra Cup, and yeah, that's the end of the series. So we won't be covering it until we have any updates about for coming up for next year. Now,
cool.
I guess you also need to cover GT America, right?
Man, GT America was definitely pretty damn big. This is actually the oh man, of all motorsports update seems to be the longest segment for sure because there's just so much happening.
Well,
This is a
we're finishing up with stuff, and it really is because a lot of motorsports is either it's running to its final rounds,
hmm,
it's summations, winners. I mean, all that stuff's. We're in the season of it right now before everything starts working its way down in the next month or two. So
yep.
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the last race that we're going to be covering as part of this motorsports update. Of course, we are talking about the Nissans which compete at the GT America Series. Now we've got multiple Nissan Z's competing in two different classes, and so we'll get into that. First off, the GT America Series was competing at the Road America track. This is round 9 and round 10. Um, of the series. It was taking place August 18th through the 20th. It was at Road America in Plymouth, Wisconsin. We're going to start with the GT4 class. This is where our friends at the Tech Sport Racing team have been competing with their GT4 spec Z cars. Of course, we have the number 22 car. That is the black and red Nissan Z, Eric Powell and Colin Harrison. And then you have the number 23 car. That is the white and red Z car GT4 spec, Brian Highcotter and Tyler Stone. So, man, I'm just going to preface this and say that it, it was a rough week, a rough weekend. That's saying it lightly. I'll be honest though. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, we'll start off with qualifying. Although there were multiple practice sessions and test sessions before that, you know, really we're getting into the thick of the racing of the weekend when you get into qualifying. Now we did have the number 23 car driven at the time by Tyler Stone have an accident, went off track. Unfortunately, the car was not able to be repaired in time. So for the number 23 car at Road America, that was essentially all she wrote for that weekend. So that car was not at race 1 nor race 2. Um, Getting into the number 22 car, the remaining GT4 Z car, driven by Eric Powell and Colin Harrison. Um, Now I've got the notes here. I'm going to share my screen. This is race 1 at Road America. Now there was a lot going on for sure. Now, unfortunately, when you look at the Tech Sport Racing car, uh, this was a did not start for Colin Harrison and Eric Powell. I do know that the race ended under safety car. I mean, there was multiple cars, multiple accidents. Um, you know, you see it here, essentially DNS, but it was 12th in its class. If you are kind of keeping track, essentially last in its class. Um, when you get into race 2, it is also tricky because what happened is that with every race, there's a qualifying session. Well, during qualifying 2, Eric Powell did make contact with the wall, according to the notes that I have here,
Mm.
and um, it put a big red flag on most of the event. Most cars didn't have a chance to establish a time, and so for that reason, instead of using qualifying two as a position as a means to determine grid order, the league, the SRO league, GT Series league, used practice two times as a means to establish grid order for the second race. So with that, Colin Harrison, Eric Powell, they did finish here in 30th place. They had a best time of 2 minutes 19 seconds and 7 thousandths of a second there. Again, overall was 30th position. So again, it was a rough weekend for the guys. I do hope that this upcoming week, upcoming races do better for them though. But they were accident prone. I mean, whether at fault or not, I have to get into details on that. But
There's a
yeah,
lot of traffic. I mean, it's crazy. When I watch this race, my stress level is even higher than what I would normally watch because there's just so much goddamn traffic that's out there. I'm amazed that there isn't more accidents when these. I don't know.
that's a really good point too, because GT4, the GT4 series has four subgroups in it, and in that is where we're in as well. I want to say the grid typically has about 43. It's like 40 plus entries with every race, and Road America is a fairly big track, but still big enough for 43 cars. I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. Especially during qualifying, it is hard, man. I would think, I
There's
would
a
almost
lot of
hope.
crap left on that track. There's a lot of debris and dirt and stuff, and it's just like all that
Yeah,
plays into it. It's like I know you. I don't know. It's just that's my.
yeah.
It's just nuts. So
It is true though, man. And as I've been watching the series this season, yeah, I mean, it's not the first time. I mean, you see the safety car out pretty often with each race, just because of how much time there is going on. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, we'll get into the upcoming race here in a second here, though.
go ahead.
However, there was a new Nissan entry for this season, 2023. This was for the GT America class, and this was somebody that we've had on the show before. Of course, we're talking about Brian Locke and the Valkyrie CDR team. Um, their entry was the R35 Nismo GTR as part of the team. Brian was actually driving a Acura NSX this season. Now he is a Nissan boy at heart, so I'm going to go ahead and give him his due on that one. But the team did consist of a GTR in its class. So again, it is some unfortunate news though. Getting into race one, the driver of the GTR R35 GTR, Amir Halim, uh, did not finish the race.
Yeah,
There
he suffered
was
a crash, right?
there was a late into that race, near the end. He
Yeah.
just kind of barreled down on the inside of the lane.
Hmm.
Essentially took a car out, man. It wasn't too good, but unfortunately, the damage was extensive enough to not have the car ready for the second race, which was happening the following day.
Okay.
So for that reason, the GTR did not finish first race and did not start on the second
Any
race.
updates on Halim? Is he okay?
He is safe. He's in good condition. I
Good.
believe. Of
Other
course, like
driver.
many drivers,
Okay.
they do the standard medical check and all that though. But from what I've
Okay.
heard, he is okay. Yeah, he was able to walk away.
Good.
That's good news. That's good
That's
news.
good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Brian Locke, though, I will say again, even though he was a Nissan, I know he's a Nissan boy at heart.
Oh
He
dear.
did a very, very impressive run. Race one, race two specifically, though. Race one, he did finish eighth place. It was the second race that he finished fifth overall. And so I definitely want to give him again, as he is our friend and having been on the show before. It was an awesome finish in race two for him. Uh, he was fifth place, but place 1 through 4 were all Mercedes. So he was essentially the second constructor of the race to win. And this was his first race of the season. That is an impressive feat. So I think that was really awesome. Definitely giving a shout out for, man. This guy's, I hope he's still kind of living on that high, man, because
That's
that's a
good.
hell of a feather in the cap, in my opinion. But getting into the next race, September 22nd through the 24th, that is this weekend. You've got the GT America Series happening round 11 and round 12. We are in Florida this weekend at Sebring International Raceway. And again, we'll be covering this in our next episode. But until then, we are wishing the best to Tech Sport Racing, our drivers of the GT4 Z car, and of course to Valkyrie CDR race team, and their Brian Locke and the team to maybe continue some of that good results that they had. They just had at Road America. Again, for those of you that are interested, you can find live racing of the races usually on Saturday and Sunday. You can go to YouTube. Also, you can go to gtamerica.us/watch-live. We'll include these in the show notes to have a link, and you can see either live timing and or video footage of the racing. So definitely, it is a very entertaining time to do that, though, man.
All right, very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, that ends our motorsports piece of it. I did get a message here from a few friends of ours. Kelsey Steffen and her husband are who we've partied with them and seen them. We've
Yeah,
met them at Branson Z Fest, surprisingly, and then we've partied with them when they came and visited us here in Texas, and we took them out for a night on the town, and
they did.
we've just kind of remained close, all of us, since then. But her and her husband are actually in Japan right now,
That's so cool.
doing like their own personal little Nissan tour. And I've been following them on their Facebook updates, and they've just been having the best time. I think tonight, which is in Japan, I don't even know what time it is. They're
So
probably
it's like
partying
9
late.
a.m. It's about a 12
Yeah,
to
it's
13 hour difference.
they did Mari Kart.
No way!
Yeah, they did it. So kudos to them for pulling that up. I talked to her in text earlier today. They were trying to make the Omari factory,
The
which is Friday in
Nismo
Japan
Omori
already.
effect. Yeah,
Yeah, they were trying to make the NISMO, the Omori factory, and the NISMO location, but
Yokohama.
unfortunately, it was closed on Fridays. They didn't know that,
No.
so I don't think they were able to attend it. So it looked like from their pictures, they made up for it by just kind of going everywhere with their free time and regardless of it. So it looked like they're having the best time, and we wish them a nice, safe return. But we still wish that they have a couple nights of fun and debauchery in Japan. So,
Glad they
and
made it out there, man. It's a
I
hell of
hope
a
they buy
time.
tons of cool parts. Oh, he says it's 11:17 a.m. here, so they just
So that's
woke up.
14 hours. Well, good morning to you, sir.
Good
Yeah,
morning
yeah,
to
yeah.
you. I was telling him, I was like, if you go out and you go have a couple drinks, live off Bakari Sweat and green tea in the morning. That's like the hangover cure for Japan, because it's dangerous drinking in Japan, man. Between the highballs and like the vending machines that have beer in them, like on the
Yeah.
streets, dude, you can get in
Man,
trouble.
we that's a whole nother like topic
It's a
for
whole
sure
other topic.
because we've
Yeah.
both been to Japan as well, and we talk about this the differences and the cool things that about it, man. Um,
It's the
that's
only
so cool.
place I know you can still get Zima. So I mean, you can find them from here, in the states, but in Japan, like you go to bars, it's still riddled with Zimas, and I'm like, all right, and I mean, it is what it is. So I like Zimas from time to time. But it's
I hope you're
when in
enjoying your
Rome,
time out there, guys.
yeah,
That's so cool. Enjoy it up. It is a hell of a time.
go to
It
an
is
up garage and buy some parts.
up
It's like,
garage,
yeah,
up garage,
up
auto
garage, buy some
box,
parts, auto box, and if
super
you get a
auto
chance,
box. Yeah,
stop by
yeah.
like the little half price book equivalencies that are around there, and they have really cool like die casts typically, and some of those like the motorsports books, and
Hmm.
yeah, Akihabara, man, go hunt for all the 143 and 112 scale stuff. We nerded out with that stuff when we were there. I remember, God, I dropped hundreds on that crap
Yeah.
while I was there. So, but we
Now,
wish you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, no, go for it. Now, again, our buddy Tetsu in Utsunomiya
Yeah,
Ultimate
it's a
Z
drive.
factory. It is a drive. It's north, but
Z
if you
car,
ever get a
Ultimate Z
chance,
car
Ultimate
garage.
Z car is an awesome little thing, man. So
Yeah, he's legend. So
enjoy your time out there, guys. It's great to hear from you guys. Enjoy
yes,
it, man.
be
It's a
safe,
trip of a
enjoy it.
lifetime.
Continue to take lots of pictures and update us. Maybe we'll talk to them or chat with them one of these days, and we can talk to them about their time and
That
spending in Japan when on their world tour. So we'll catch up. Let's move on. So we have to go into our special segment here. This is where we either going to talk about a particular topic, something that's kind of in our brains, or maybe we kind of want to talk about a product. In this particular section of our special segment, we're going to go ahead and do a shut up and take my money,
Woo.
where we each kind of find some products, or maybe there's a vendor out there that we want to kind of shine a light on and give them their proper due. As of late, I mean, I talk about this a lot where I'm usually kind of helping somebody else out, or I'm always on the hunt for like specifically like Nissan tools,
Hmm.
to kind of get my jobs done and like things that make my life a little easier.
Yeah.
I love that. So recently there's been somebody that kind of bubbled up, and if you can, Mike, you can give me the steering wheel.
No, I got it for you.
And oh, you
Check
did?
this
Oh,
out.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet, cool. Yeah. So these folks, Almados Motorsports, they kind of developed something that I wished that was available when I was trying to do some work for folks. Like if we had Wheeler's car, we could have done it with this.
Uh-huh.
When we were pulling engines in the last year, it would have been nice. What I love about this plate, it's not specific, and that's one thing about the VQ, is there's variations of the VQ that make it kind of a pain to pull. So it's like you either have to do a roping system or a sling, and make your own.
Yeah.
But what I like about this one, it actually is a little more adaptive to all those variations of the VQ, the DE, the HR, the VHR. So this engine lift plate allows you to kind of pull from the lower plenum, if you will, and you can kind of connect it, as you can see on the left hand side.
Yeah.
It'll mount up to that position and allows you to kind of pull. Allows you to pull the engines with a little bit of ease.
Yeah.
So.
I What I like about it when I'm just seeing this too is that on this mount, you've got three potential areas
Mhm.
to connect your hook from the hoist, and it's sort of dependent on whether or not you've got a transmission mounted to it still or not, because you
Mhm.
get that chance to counterbalance the engine.
Correct. Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, I would use this in conjunction with, like, I don't know. I hate to say it, like the big red unit that you can crank and adjust and
Oh,
tilt
yeah,
and
yeah.
offset the weight. I love that unit in that respect, because you can do that. If you have a really complicated build. And one thing, when you pull the VQ engine, if you've ever had to do it, I mean, everybody kind of does it differently, but most guys just disassemble the whole front of that damn car and take it all off, and then but
Hmm.
you still, the pan is still a pain to kind of get with that cross member, especially if you're trying to stab it with the whole transmission all together in there. If that's the way you're attempting to do it, you've kind of got to do a little bit of a nosedive, and it gets tight right there. So this, believe it or not, this mount helps with stuff like that if you have the right setup to where you can start getting the adjustability. I also have seen guys do like ratcheting straps, and they'll connect it to
Yeah.
the front and the back, and they just kind of
Yeah.
either
Click, click,
loosen
click,
it
click,
or
click, click.
tighten it. And I know
Yeah.
it sounds ghetto, but it works. I've had to do it both ways, but I
Yeah.
prefer much
Yeah.
of the full sling adjustability.
Mhm.
And no, the pricing is not horrible for a new
In,
product out to market.
in this economy, not bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, it didn't just stop there with these guys. If you kind of go down towards the bottom, keep going down, scrolling. This isn't the only product they put out. Now, they're still a fairly new, as far as making tools, but these Nissan flywheel holders are kind of a
Mm.
godsend. Like, normally, if you have a really strong impact, you can kind of just hit it and it'll come off. But one thing about the VQ engines, if you've ever had to take a crank pulley off, they're put on with the strength of four dying stars, and you really kind of have to hit them with a really strong impact. I went through three of my impacts and borrowed a fourth, and I hit it with like 130 psi, and it was still smiling at me. And I got to a point where the teeth were starting to become an issue, and there's softer aluminums that are here into play too, as well, as far as the castings on the blocks and things. So you can
Uh,
really start to screw stuff up if you start like using the flywheel, the old flathead method or a crowbar. You can screw something out. So not having the right tool is perfect. And this also will not damage your flywheel potentially in those two teeth that you're kind of sacrificing to mar up. You want that contact for that
mhm.
starter to be continuous. So this is a really cheap, inexpensive tool that I was actually trying. I was going to make
Yeah.
if that last impact that I borrowed from the God of Thunder didn't work out for me, and it just turned out that it worked out for me, so I didn't develop it. And me
Yeah.
and Mike have been talking about, hey, should we just make these? But this guy went ahead and
Yeah.
did it. So you've got two different variations that are available for this,
Yeah.
and they make them both available. So I highly
This.
recommend if you're a VQ nut, this is probably a tool you want to kind of maybe put on your
Yeah.
Christmas list. So
I agree, man, because I'm all about the tools, man. I enjoy doing the work, but having the right tool for the job, doing things
cuts
where
their
it's
time
just
down.
it's so
Yeah.
fast.
So
Yeah, yeah. And what I like about this one, so what makes this particular transmission flywheel lock uh, special as opposed to the one we just talked about is that this one can be installed at while the transmission's still attached.
yeah.
So for reasons, and you have Miles, you had this story earlier this year. You had that crank nut that
Yeah.
um
What's funny
crank
is
pulley
I
breaks.
had the same design made out in steel
Yeah,
that I was like, all right, I'd already chopped everything. I was plasma cutting everything.
yeah,
And, you told me, it was like, man, just try like a crazy, crazy impact. And I'm like, all right, I got one guy I know. And I literally loaded the whole engine on the back of the truck and I took it
yeah.
over to his shop and I was going to unload it. And he was like, I'll bring the impact out to you. And we hit it with like 200 PSI with his massive, like, the impact had a handle on the backside, if that tells you anything. And we hit it, and then
Like a T
the
hand, like a machine gun.
yeah,
Just
almost like an air hammer like setup,
air
and
hammer.
it just
Yeah,
came off in 2 seconds. And he goes, that was it. And he goes, you're done. And he goes, I hit it with so much force that you didn't need that. He goes, but
yeah.
who the hell is going to have something like that? And he told me the price of that impact, and I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I would never
And
buy it. It
and
doesn't make
think
sense.
Exactly, and think about it too. I mean, there are lot of guys like ourselves, Miles. We'll have to do some work in a salvage yard. Say we're getting some parts out
Jesus
of
Christ,
a
yeah.
car that there's no electricity nearby, no pneumatic air nearby. This is the tool that you're going to
Yeah,
need
you're all
to
nut
get that
busting
job
that.
done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're just it's either it's gonna give or you're gonna have a hernia doing it. So, but this tool, and I'm not joking. I mean, and I'm being sincere when that VQ is really put on. I don't know if it's like the way they put it on at the factory, or if maybe there's using some type of like a like a red dab or something on that thread to keep
Yeah.
it locked into place. But it is on there with some force. I am not joking about that. I've taken a lot
It's.
of Nissan engines apart.
Hmm.
VGs are easy to get apart. SRs, all that's all the crank. This particular one is a pain. So this tool to me is a necessity if you're going to be messing around with some of the VQ stuff, and
Yeah.
it's so cheap that it's going to pay. It's worth it just to have in the toolbox. So
I agree, man. Dude, great find on this one. This is all Mitos Motorsports.
mhm. Yeah,
This was the first time I've heard. I was gonna do some
I
research. Where
like
are
it
they
because it was
based
just
out
kind
of?
of no nonsense stuff. I mean, some of their stuff also that they have is a little more driven. I mean, like they have, going through their website, they've got like billet covers, which are highly expensive, but super trick.
Yeah.
If you got the means, I'd say go for it. But but I was mostly focused on this engine lift and
Yes, the tools.
and the tools. I thought it was well done, and so I wanted to make sure that I gave them a shout out for that. So.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I do love this one, man. Um, I'll get into mine, man. I am also featuring a company and product that they're developing, and it really is the product that they make is one of it's of those of the type where you think it's one of those like duh products, like damn it, man, like duh, like why isn't anybody, why hasn't this been made? It's so simple and yet so helpful. So I have a similar company that I wanted to promote, and this company, this is through their Facebook, but made from scratch designs. And the product I see here is actually very similar to what you see. Their primary application, from what I've seen, is the Z32 300ZX. Um, let's see what we got here. The product that I liked the most, actually was. Let me catch it. Let me catch it here. Let me let these pictures load. There was a series. Actually, they had a very similar piece. Of course, you do see for the 300ZX Z32 a very similar mounting plate for you to hoist the engine up from its lower plenum, intake
Mhm.
plenum, as you see here.
Ooh, all right, all right.
That's not too bad. There were a number of different brake adapter brackets that they're making, and there was one particular product that I really like so much. And again, this is simple stuff. Okay, how about this one? You're on the passenger side of your 300ZX, where your ECU is. It's that piece of wood with that screw that you're doing to cover the ECU. Well, I mean, it's wood. I mean, it's 30 years later. It's like, well, this one's made out of aluminum, man. Like, get one of these. This is a nice little touch. Maybe yours is missing. It's these simple products that are just very nice touches that you can
Mhm,
do to the car. Here's another one.
mhm.
This is I believe this is a two seater.
That's yeah, that's 2 plus 2.
Is it a 2+2? So,
Yeah.
because as opposed to the particle board, that again 30-year-old particle board, that's that
Yeah, it
divider.
gets like 2 baths in it, and then it just has that nasty bow in it, and it's just trash after that. So
And look at the precision here, man. You see how they
yeah,
modified the design to fit with the styrofoam, off hazard kit. It's a
hell,
nice touch.
for the price you're gonna pay for the particle board,
Yeah, if you were trying to do it
you could
yourself,
probably just get that, and then you're done for the rest of your days. So I think it's baller.
absolutely. I think there was one more that I want to share. This is actually one here. Actually, this is actually a really cool thing. This has to do with the air idle control valve.
Oh yeah,
For those who know, yeah, on that VG30 engine, the idle control valve on the rear side of
sit
the
on the back
intake.
with two 10 millimeter bolts, and then it's the idle adjuster, and then you've got the IAC that actually bolts to those other two 10 millimeter bolts to the back. So
For the AC adjustment.
yeah, for
When
the
you turn the
colds.
AC on, it
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
it kicks up the idle a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
For those who know that, if you're trying to find another one in good condition, or much less a new one,
They're
is that
pricey. Yeah, yeah.
super expensive, and it is somewhat of a complex design. So they have it as a bracket here where you're able to actually adapt and use an intake idle control valve from a Ford, and these things are like 30 or $60, a fraction of the cost of what a Nissan version would be. And this bracket here, you grab this common Ford item, which does the job. I mean, I haven't seen videos per se though, but this idea is pretty ingenious in my opinion. It fits underneath the hood. You probably have a splice on the sensor,
Mhm.
but then you get a consistent idle, and at a fraction of the cost you would for having to, yeah. And you know how those idle air control valves are. You've got multiple hoses, like a little T up
Yeah.
top, where you've got hoses coming from multiple areas.
Well, it's also the hoses are the failure point in regards to that. I mean, you might have to change a few things out, but overall, it's a consistently good design. I mean, I'd be interested in something like that. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I really enjoyed seeing what this guy has to offer. Again, this is Made from Scratch Designs, abbreviated MFS. This is through their Facebook page. You can see a lot of things. I really want to say that a lot of these pictures and posts were made very, very quick to each other. So either he's been doing a lot of R&D and not saying things until they're actually ready, or he's just working his ass off. Both are just really cool.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, man. So I
Well,
really
I mean,
enjoyed
he's
this.
he's obviously a fellow Z nerd. So guess what? We're going to give him a shout out in regards to that. I actually, st- excuse me, Kelsey and Kevin actually that were just in Japan. They wanted to give a shout out to a product that they like too as well. So
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, you know what? I figure why not? We'll let them do that since since they're
Yeah,
out there enjoying their time. But yeah, go ahead and give me the steering wheel and
sure.
see here.
See this ad. Here we
So
go.
this is called the Oberg Tilt Lift Engine Sling. Apparently, it's 2,000 pound capacity, but you can buy it through Amazon. It's Oberg Tilt Lift. Again, this allows you to kind of change your direction of your engine up to about 45 degrees, and it's all done with a ratcheting wrench.
Oh
for the
wow.
side. Yeah,
No way.
yeah.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
simplistic, right? I mean, the old big red unit is a little clunky, I will admit, and the pricing on that is damn near close to that anyway. So it's just like, all right, why not?
Not bad.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I think if
so
there's a decent uh it's all about the mounting points at that point, so that you're not crushing a valve cover with that a cable tension or something like
yeah,
that.
I
But I
mean,
mean,
don't
but overall,
bind up the cable,
but to have that tilt ability, yeah.
I mean, look at that. I mean, it's pretty simplistic. There's a lot of ways to do the same job, but I do like that. That's a pretty good product. So it's a good reference from them.
Yeah,
So
man.
I priced it out on Amazon right now. It's only about $89, so it's not too horrible. So,
Not bad. Not bad.
but again, a good
Uh,
shout out from them on something that they wanted to feature. So we figured we'd throw it out there. But yeah, good recommendation. So,
That's cool, man. Thanks, guys, for sharing that one. That was pretty good.
is there any products that you've made that are secrets of the trade that you have in your toolbox that are for engine pulling?
Um,
Extensions on top of extensions on top of extensions for popping transmission bolts. I did extensions with swivel, and then I tack welded the swivel
yeah,
on there so it would never walk away, and I just made it kind of a sacrificial thing. I did
yeah.
that also with spark plugs. So I made an extension that's perfectly out just to get out outside of a VG30,
Hmm.
and it's about that long, standard size. And then I took a swivel and I tacked it on there, and then I took the socket for the spark plugs, and then I tacked that on there too as well, and I wrapped the whole thing like an electric tape to kind of just keep crap from getting in it.
Yeah.
But that's been one of my favorite tools that I use probably every other weekend kind of thing.
No
And
way.
same thing with the extension on those bolts. When you got to go for those really tall type
Yeah.
ones, you just need to pop it off. I mean, it looks crazy because I've got like, you know, 6 feet of, potentially I got 3 feet, 4 feet, and 6 feet of these extension rods. But
Yeah.
everybody's like, I don't have to get underneath there and break my hands. I'm done in 2 seconds. So,
Now that you think about it, now that you've mentioned it, I do have something in my wish list on Amazon right now
oh,
that I want to use for those reasons of like, those hard to reach transmission bolts. And it's a product I should probably have by now, but I don't. We all have, you mentioned like universal joints for the sockets, right? To kind of give it an
yeah,
angle. But it's different when you're trying to use an impact. So if you got that those extensions in that socket, and then all of a sudden you make that connection, and now you have your impact, and you're trying to break it loose. You can't just use a regular universal joint. Oftentimes, you just destroy the U joint, the
yeah.
universal joint, trying to use an impact. So you have to get U joints that are specific for using an impact with. Much less if you want to save even more space underneath the hood, you buy the sockets with each socket has its own U joint built into it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a hardened steel. It's made for impact driver. Actually, that's in my wish list right now that I'll probably get for myself as a gift for Christmas or something
It's
like
not
that.
bad. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody comes to my house and they start playing with my tools. You've been in my toolbox. That
Yeah.
sounds weird, but like I have all these like little weird things. Like everybody like they'll pull a socket out for the bigger, or they'll pull it out, and then there's a bunch of like paper that's kind of stuffed in the sockets, and they're like, "Why the
Yes.
hell did you do that?" It's like because when you're trying to drive a 10 millimeter bolt, it's right
Yeah.
there, and it's just
Yep.
little tricks like that I've learned from just watching smarter people than me, and I just stole the idea, so it kind of goes from there. So, but
True, man.
yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap up our special segment of ways to spend more money for the upcoming year as we start getting into it. Let's talk a little bit about events here as we start wrapping up towards the door here. Obviously, one of our
Sure.
favorite events is going on right now, Branson Z Fest. So those folks are out there having the time of their lives without us, but no big deal. We don't. It's not a big thing. So we hope they're having a great time. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what those amazing people are doing at this amazing event right now.
Sure, man. Actually, there was if you go through the Facebook page for Branson Z Fest right now, a lot of them. So I think the event officially starts tomorrow,
Tomorrow, yeah.
tomorrow, right, the
Tonight's
21st.
the early birds who are drinking in the parking lot tonight. So at the new
Yes,
location, mind you. So
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about that real quick, too. For those who aren't familiar, though, this picture you see right now, that's the Honeysuckle Inn, has been the venue for Branson Z Fest for a very long time.
great venue.
Unfortunately, though, there for reasons, this hotel is now closed. It's not available for us to for anybody to
For
use.
anybody, yeah, and the deets on that where the location needed to do some massive renovations to keep up with the local city codes,
Hmm.
and so unfortunately they just chose to close versus keep up with those updates, which it just happens. So those
Yep.
things kind of happen. So that the venue had to change, and I hear the new venue is a really good selected location. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the new venue. I definitely got to give a shout out to the Branson Z team, the organizers of Branson Z Fest, is because they had to act very fast to find a venue. You got to think about it. People are by the time they heard the news about this particular hotel closing, many people have already been making their plans and had been making their plans for a long time. So they had to act very fast. Fortunately, I believe there was a particular friend of theirs that used to work at the Honeysuckle, now works at another hotel
Nice.
down the street. A fellow Z fan or a fan of the events, and so the new venue for this year is the Branson Towers, which is just down the street from the Honeysuckle. So you're
Nice.
not traveling too far. It's actually yeah, not too far. It is a different configuration. You know, like you see here, the doors of the Honeysuckle used to just direct into the parking lot. Branson Towers, maybe not all the rooms are like that, so it'll be a little different. But from what I can tell, the vibe and the courteousness and hospitality of the hotel seems to kind of match so far from what we've seen as the Honeysuckle Inn. So uh, hopefully, I really don't see any. Hopefully, I don't foresee any issues. This management of the Branson Towers. Hopefully, they become friends, good friends, just like we have with the old hotel. Again, for those who are with us online, definitely giving a shout out. We're jealous. We wish we were there. Our buddy Ion is there right now. He's got his action going on. He sent us a few pictures earlier today. His drive up to Branson. I believe he's there by now.
Yeah, he said he
And
found a new route and found a tunnel because he was trying to skip some of the Dallas traffic. So we'll see what he has for an update for that when we do that. So
yeah,
we'll see. I hope he had a blast. Hope he made it there safe. I hope everybody's making it there safe as they kind of make their way in
yeah,
and just enjoy the location. I mean, there's so much cool things around there, and then so much great food. I mean, I remember Vaskins. I'm still daydreaming about Vaskins. You
the
know,
the sandwich shop.
the
Yeah,
sandwich shop. Oh my god, I love that place. Like for real.
yeah.
But yeah, so
Do
good.
Do you think the new hotel is going to allow an engine swap in the parking lot?
I don't know. We'll have to put that to the test. Oh, like it's funny because the pictures behind me of
Yeah.
us pulling that engine was like, I was like, oh, that's a funny one. And then, yeah, I don't know. I don't. We'll have to see if I can. We'll pop that cherry, as it were, in regards to pulling the engine. So hopefully not. Hopefully we keep things to a less crazy time. But yeah, pumpkin
Yep.
spice is more chill anyway. So it's a very cool, relaxed event that I am super excited and super happy to promote. So yeah, I'm glad they're
Yep.
having a good time. So be safe, guys.
Yep.
Enjoy, take lots of pictures, and we'll try to do. Maybe we can do a summation with Josh or some of the guys from it when everything gets wrapped up and we
That'd be
have an
fun.
opportunity in a couple of weeks or something. So
Yeah. Yeah. Next up, we have one other event that we want to promote, and of course, this is actually happening the following. Was it a week from now? September 29th and
yeah,
30th. So not this weekend, but the next weekend. If you are in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I'm sure if you don't know by now, you need to be checking out Z Nationals. This is a long tenured event. It's been happening for nearly 20 years at this point. This event is hosted by Z1 Motorsports, which is their headquarters is not too far from Atlanta itself. Uh, this is a 2-day event. It is a Friday and Saturday, I believe. Again, the 29th and 30th. 2-day event. The first day is a track day. It's for this year. It's happening at the Atlanta Motorsports Park, AMP, essentially north of Atlanta. And then the following day is the car show slash, vendors slash, music DJ. There's an after party in Carrollton. That is where the Z1 Motorsports headquarters is located. They've actually got they brought in a special guest performance. I don't have the name on me with right now, but regardless, what I'm saying is that the Z1 Motorsports team, they go to freaking 11 at this point with their event organizing. So if you are in the Atlanta area, you want to check out Z Nationals, you can go to znationals.com for more details about it. Um, it's going to be a hell of a time, and we're not too far away. I think again, yeah, the next time that we get together, Miles, this event will be. Take a look at here. Yeah, that event's going to be over, so this is probably our last time promoting it, sadly. But
Well,
again,
we're doing what we need to do for that event, and it's a great event, so we do not mind promoting that. So
oh, hell of a time, dude. And I've been there. Miles, you've been to Z Nationals as well, right?
yeah,
Well, yeah,
well, it was a combination of
with
ZCon
ZCon.
and Z. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that was, yeah, it was a great location.
Mhm.
It was. I can get in trouble because I went by the location and then there was so much stuff on sale that I was just like, oh God, I need to drive up there with a panel truck. So I ended up buying a lot of stuff. Yeah, it was great. And then location was great. And then we know a lot of those folks, so that's awesome. Used to work there for a short time, so
Yep, yep. Now I did see here on the website, of course, it's not. This has to be mentioned again. If you're thinking about it, there are raffles that are happening during that Saturday at the Z1 headquarters. $30,000 in product giveaways to
wow.
be exact, over $30,000. So again, must be at the show to enter and to win. Check out the full listing of giveaways in the link here. Of course, this link for znationals.com we will put in the show notes amongst all the links here this evening, and we'll give you more information. It is the 18th annual Z Nationals. Again, hell of a time. You owe it to yourself to check it out. Yeah, you got a track day and show day. It's gonna be a full house, man. It really is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of wraps up our event here as far as the podcast is concerned. Again, we want to make sure we're thanking everybody for the continued support over our hiatus. We'll try to stay a little more consistent here as we move through the next and finishing out the year. And we're going to be bringing on some, hopefully, some more interviews here with some special guests. And again, thank you to everyone who continues to support us. Want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe when you can. You can contact us through social media. I would probably recommend Instagram right now because Facebook, officially in Facebook jail right now. I do not know when we're going to get out, but we're doing hard time as far as Facebook jail is concerned. You can check us again out on Instagram, or you can check out us on YouTube when we post
Yeah.
these up about a day after we do these shows. So, if you
I
need
should
it,
also sorry, I should also mention again, these are the video aspects through YouTube, but as the audio version of this podcast, we are on all major podcast networks. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Pandora for God's sakes. I mean, if you just do a search for Nissan Nerd and you can find us. I'm sure if you're listening to us now, it's probably through one of those said networks. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. But yeah, that's everything. If you have something that we need to know about, a new product, if there's a new event that's going on that you need us to help promote, we do not have a problem doing that. You just need to let us know. I'd probably recommend sending that information through info@nissannerd.com. Just send us the old snail mail or the electronic snail mail, right? So
At this point, it kind of
at
feels
this
like
point,
snail mail,
it is,
doesn't it?
yeah, emails now snail mail, I
What a
guess.
time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. So. But again, thank you to everybody for being on with us here tonight. That's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and set up for our compis. Until then, until the next event, I would say get in your garage, make something cool. I always like you better when you're in garage. I always like people when they're in their garage. So, yeah, a
I
little
like it.
compi. I got a little left. You?
Me too. Me too. It's more watered down, but let's do it, guys. Again, for those who are with us, let's go and do a send off here. Kanpai, guys. Kanpai, Miles. Woo.
Mm. Until then, get out of here. And we'll try to make another episode. Go. Bye. Get out of here. Leave. Go. Ugh.
Bye.
Bye.
Later,
Go.
guys.
Go.